Welcome back, educators. If you watched our previous video on digital assessment tools, you now know which tools to use and why they're powerful. But here's the question I keep hearing from teachers. I'm collecting all this data from Kahoot, Google Forms, and Nearpod. Now, what do I actually do with it? You're not alone. Having assessment data is like having ingredients in your kitchen. The magic happens when you know how to combine them into something transformative. Today, we're diving deep into the art and science of turning assessment data into learning breakthroughs. I'll show you 3 game-changing strategies: how to read the story your data is telling, how to create targeted interventions that actually work, and how to build a responsive classroom culture where data drives growth, not anxiety. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear action plan for making every piece of assessment data count. Let's transform your teaching practice together. Here's what most teachers miss. Assessment data isn't just about who got the right answer. It's about understanding the thinking patterns behind student responses. Let me show you what I mean with a real classroom example. Case study: the fraction revelation. Sarah, a 5th grade teacher, used Poll Everywhere to assess fraction understanding. Here were her results. Question: which is larger, 3/4 or 5/8? 60% chose 5/8, incorrect. 40% chose 3/4, correct. Most teachers would see 60% got it wrong and reteach the lesson. But Sarah dug deeper. She looked at the response patterns and realized something crucial. Students weren't struggling with fractions. They were applying whole number thinking. They saw 5 and 8 as bigger numbers than 3 and 4. This insight completely changed her intervention strategy. The 3-layer data reading framework. Layer 1, surface level. What happened? Correct versus incorrect responses, participation rates, time spent on tasks. Layer 2, pattern level. What trends do you see? Common wrong answers revealing misconceptions, students consistently struggling across topics, timing patterns showing confidence levels. Layer 3, insight level. What does this mean for learning? Root causes of confusion, learning pathway preferences, emotional factors affecting performance. Quick check-in. You notice that 70% of students consistently choose the same incorrect answer on multiple choice questions about photosynthesis. This suggests A, students aren't paying attention. B, there's a common misconception you need to address. C, the questions are too difficult. D, students are guessing randomly. Take a moment to think. The answer is B. Consistent wrong answers reveal systematic misconceptions that need targeted intervention. The responsive teaching cycle. Once you understand what your data is telling you, the next step is creating interventions that address root causes, not just symptoms. Strategy 1, the misconception map. When Sarah discovered the whole number thinking pattern in fractions, she didn't just reteach fractions. Instead, she created what I call a misconception map. Step 1, identify the misconception. Students think bigger numbers always mean bigger fractions. Step 2, trace the logic. This makes sense in whole number contexts. Students are applying familiar patterns to new situations. Step 3, build a bridge. Use visual fraction strips to show why 3/4 is actually larger. Connect to pizza slices. Would you rather have 3 out of 4 large slices or 5 out of 8 small slices? Result: her follow-up formative assessment showed 85% understanding improvement in just 2 days. Strategy 2, the differentiated response protocol. Here's how to use your digital assessment data for immediate differentiation. High performers, 90% plus correct. Extension activities through platforms like Nearpod's collaborative boards, peer teaching opportunities using Padlet discussions, independent exploration projects. Middle performers, 60 to 89% correct. Targeted practice with tools like Formative's auto-feedback, small group instruction based on specific error patterns, metacognitive reflection prompts. Struggling learners, below 60% correct. One-on-one conferences to understand thinking processes, concrete manipulatives before digital practice, peer partnership with high performers. Strategy 3, the real-time pivot digital tools allow for immediate instructional adjustments. Here's the protocol. During the lesson, 1. Use tools like Kahoot or Poll Everywhere every 7 10 minutes 2. If less than 70% understand, stop and address misconceptions immediately. 3. If 70 to 85% understand, do a quick clarification. 4. If more than 85% understand, accelerate or extend the 3-minute rule. Never let misconceptions persist for more than 3 minutes once you've identified them through formative assessment. Reality check. Question. Your Mentimeter word cloud shows that when asked about the water cycle, students consistently use words like disappears instead of evaporates. Your best next step is A. Move on to the next lesson as planned. B. Spend the next day reteaching the entire water cycle. C. Address the misconception about water disappearing with a targeted 10-minute demonstration. D. Give students a worksheet on vocabulary. The answer is C. Target the specific misconception with a focused intervention rather than broad reteaching. From data fear to data celebration. The most important part of using assessment data isn't the tools or the analysis. It's creating a classroom culture where data drives growth, not anxiety. Student-facing data strategies. The growth dashboard approach. Instead of hiding assessment results, make them visible and empowering. Use Google Sheets or Excel to create simple progress charts students can access. Show growth over time, not just current performance. Include reflection prompts. What strategy helped you improve? Personal learning analytics tools like Seesaw and Google Classroom can help students track their own progress. Students set learning goals based on formative assessment results. They choose their next learning activities based on data insights. Reflection becomes a regular practice, not a rare event. The feedback loop revolution. Traditional approach. Teacher gives feedback. Student receives feedback. Maybe student acts on feedback. Data-driven approach. Assessment reveals pattern. Student and teacher analyze together. Student chooses intervention strategy. Immediate reassessment. Celebration of growth. Creating psychological safety with data research shows that students perform better when assessment feels supportive rather than judgmental. Here's how to use digital tools to create safety. Anonymized class data. Use tools like Poll Everywhere to show class trends without identifying individuals. Look, 60% of our class had the same misconception. That's totally normal and helpful to know. Growth celebrations. Use platforms like Padlet to celebrate learning gains. Share one thing you learned about your own learning this week. Error analysis as learning. Frame mistakes as data points, not failures. This mistake tells us exactly what to work on next. The Parent Communication Game Changer use assessment data to transform parent conversations. Instead of, your child got 7/10 on the quiz. Try. Based on our ongoing assessments, I can see your child has mastered multiplication but is still developing their understanding of division word problems. Here's how we're addressing this. Tools like Google Classroom and Canvas make this data-rich communication easy and ongoing. Application challenge. You want to help students feel empowered by assessment data rather than anxious about it. Which approach would be most effective? A. Only share positive results with students. B. Give students access to their own progress data with reflection tools. C. Keep all assessment data private between teacher and parents. D. Focus only on summative assessment results. The answer is B. Giving students access to their own data with reflection tools builds ownership and reduces anxiety. Here's your challenge for this week. Day 1. 2. Choose one digital assessment tool from our previous video and collect baseline data. Day 3. 4. Use the 3-layer reading framework to analyze what the data tells you. Day 5. Implement one targeted intervention based on your insights. Day 6. 7. Reassess and celebrate growth with your students. Remember, the goal isn't perfect data collection. It's creating a responsive learning environment where every student's thinking is visible, valued, and supported. The research is clear. Teachers who use assessment data strategically can accelerate student learning by up to 40%. But the real magic happens when students become partners in interpreting and acting on their own learning data. Your students aren't just waiting for better grades. They're waiting for better understanding of their own learning journey. The tools are in your hands. The strategies are proven. The data is waiting to tell its story. What will you discover about your students' learning this week?